Gentlemen.
Jamie, how are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
Morning.
Good to see you.
Afternoon, good to see you.
There, how you doing?
I recognize this guy. How are you?
guys doing?
I brought the project manager, Matt Ammerman, so if we have any specific questions about the project, he's here to help.
No, go for it.
I think one of the questions I have, do you guys use your own private communication system? Is that what your towers are for? Is you have your own bandwidth or something there and you keep it on stuff that's just your own? I got you.
Mhm.
Instead of using cell towers or cell phone, what do you have, radio system?
Yeah, it's
That's right.
radios.
Gotcha.
Are you all the only people that use it? That tower?
We are.
Yes.
Yeah.
You gonna let us hook up on it one of these days when AT&T and Verizon need a little more?
If they present us with their needs, we're open to discuss.
Open to suggestions. Well. So it looks like, how did planning and zoning move on this issue?
Do you want her to read the?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You better open this up.
Yes. Sorry about that, I am. Montezuma County Board of Commissioners will now open a public hearing for the purpose of reviewing and determining a proposed amendment to a high-impact permit number 15-000001 submitted by Kinder Morgan. Would you call the roll, Kim?
Commissioner Tell,
Present.
Commissioner Sukla,
Here.
Commissioner Lambert,
Here.
Administrator Bruner,
Here.
Attorney Baxter,
Here.
and Clerk and Recorder Kim Purcell. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of Commissioners will hold a public hearing for the purpose of reviewing and determining a proposed amendment to high-impact permit number HIP 15-00001 submitted by Kinder Morgan CO2 Company, agents Phil Kennedy and Ecosphere Environmental Services for the construction and operation of a 70-foot communications tower, which would be placed next to the existing building CC Cluster Revised on property owned by Joseph and Jennifer Lanier, 25484 Road 9, Pleasant View, Colorado, east of Road 9, north of Road BB, located in Section 6, Township 38, Range 18, NMPM. The hearing will be held Monday, June 15th, beginning at 1:30 p.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County District Courthouse, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office Room, 305 District Courthouse, Cortez, Colorado, or accessed online at http://montezumacounty.org, Web Departments, Planning. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. This file can be inspected in the Planning Department during regular office hours. Dated this 29th day of May 2015, Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado, published in the Cortez Journal on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2015.
Thank you, Kim.
Did I do that?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Commissioners, I guess my first question, Leanne, is how did planning and zoning treat this application?
Planning and zoning reviewed it on May 28th. We don't have our. There was some concern about a beacon or some sort of lighting at the top of the tower. It was brought up that the installation of this would reduce traffic, ultimately, with that communication being able to be made, because they wouldn't have to be driving up and down the roads to get it. They would be able to get it remotely. There are no contingencies on the motion to approve, and the motion carried 5-0.
Lanier, you're fine with this?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Is this, so is one of them to amend the high impact permit, and then the second hearing is to grant it or not grant it?
Well, there's two separate,
Towers?
yeah, that we're looking at,
Two
two
different
separate
properties, two different
facilities.
towers, two different
All right.
amendments.
Yes, sir.
One's on the Olivers and one's on the Laniers, is
On the-
that correct?
Correct.
Jane? change, anything, and I guess is that an FAA requirement to have the lighting on top of it so that aircraft is that
It's not tall enough?
it's not tall
No,
enough?
uh-uh.
Okay. So who had consulted about or raised the issue of having a light on it or a beacon?
Ms. Puck.
Okay. If you
Wanted
don't-
one or did not want one?
Just concerned if it did need one, it wasn't,
But FAA says that it's not.
It's not.
high
But
enough
that's up
require
to-
that.
Yes, sir.
that's their regulations, so.
I've got some information from the manufacturer as far as what it looks like, the footprint of the tower itself, and also the topography that justified the height that we're proposing
Mhm.
as far as line of sight.
You need the range line of sight so that you can line of sight tower to tower and.
That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
And so you probably
Well, not
strategically pick the places that are higher,
Mhm.
the pieces of property for.
Is this gonna be a guide tower or?
No, it'll get anchored back to the cluster buildings themselves.
Oh, so it won't be
So-
guy wires out in the field or
Excuse
anything,
me.
we'll have to do dead man or anything
So there's
out
a
there.
foundation that'll be right next to each of the cluster buildings. We'll erect the tower, and then it'll anchor back to the building.
Mhm.
So there'll be no need for guying of.
That's nice. Okay, any other questions or concerns? Okay, we'll now take this portion of the public hearing and open it to the public. Anybody that wishes to speak to or con to this issue, please come to the microphone and state your name and address and share your comments with us.
Hi, Katrina Baumgartner, 25382 Road 9, Pleasantview. In regards to the proposed construction and operation of the communication tower, I've got several concerns, and they're not in any real specific order. It'll additionally decrease in value our land with all the activity, the long-term and the permanent footprint that Kinder Morgan has placed out there. It's a real concern. It'll be an unsightly tower, ruining our view of our skyline. We were assured that the building wouldn't exceed the 18 feet 2 inches in height, and it's already eyesore enough. Now we're gonna add a tower, plus whatever equipment's gonna be mounted onto it in addition to that. The lighting requirements which you addressed, just because they're not required, I'm sure you could still choose to put lights up there if you wanted to, but lighting is a concern. I'd like to know how big the equipment is, the communications equipment that's gonna be mounted on the tower. The tower shows very minimal in size, but we all know you can see forever out there. And the equipment size is a concern, as well as the tower itself. It's another footprint and airprint for our lifetimes. How many more are you guys going to need to complete your projects? Everything that Kinder Morgan and its contractors do interferes with our view, changes our beautiful and quiet neighborhood, long-term. Concerned about health hazards because of additional radio frequencies, and will it interfere with the fire and EMS communications? We're already bombarded with radio waves and frequencies everywhere. This is pretty close to our house, again. Flight interference with crop spraying helicopters, you know, the firefighters use helicopters for water. With fires, there's there's a lot of flights that go over our house, and I know it is short, but it still is a concern. Why not use the communications provider that's in the area? There are already facilities in the area, and if you're gonna do your own thing anyway, why didn't you bury the facilities along with all the other disturbances of the ground when you had it open? A lot of stuff can be buried instead of through the air. You can't tell me that communication needs weren't a part of your initial plan, and why not be proactive instead of reactive? Is that your ultimate plan, that everything you do be strategically maneuvered so that you can be sure to get exactly what you want? Since it all has to come together in the end, you have to connect all these dots that you have and are continuing to build. There seems to be a huge, complete lack of engineering or planning on your parts. Seems like you come back and come back and come back, as large a company as yours is, you would think there would be a lot more foresight and planning. So you don't have to keep coming back and asking and asking and asking. Business plans, you know, are normally done so that you have a complete plan. Enough's enough. Please find another way that isn't so obstructive and intrusive. We constantly wonder what's coming next. On another note, since Kinder Morgan began their invasion of our neighborhood, there's trash everywhere. It's trashed. There's trash everywhere out there, and it didn't used to be that way. You know, this is our neighborhood, and we take pride in taking care of it, and it's unacceptable. The signage, you know, you've got your signs stuck in the bar ditches and they're staked everywhere. You guys aren't taking care of weed eating around it or spraying or anything when we're mowing our bar ditches and stuff. It's a real pain trying to work around it. We're frustrated. I don't know where the proposed one is on Bridge Oliver Place. It'd be nice to know, but it's everywhere. You know, we're tired of it. One thing after another. You know, you guys said that you would use locals whenever you could. There's a telephone company out there. Why can't you, have you even contacted them to ask them, you know, if they could provide your services for you? You'd think you'd work a little bit better with the people in the community and the resources that you have at hand. Thank you.
One
Yes, sir.
question, how close are, you said your home is right in the neighborhood, how close are you to this cluster facility there?
I don't know the exact footage, but it's less than half a mile. The well location is feet behind our house. The cluster is further east than from there.
Than the well?
Yeah.
Can you, maybe you could point out her house?
My house is, oh, I have my glasses. Oh, let's see, there's the cemetery, and I'm right across the street from the cemetery.
On the east side of the road?
Yes.
Yep. So you have that center pivot and stuff, goes right around your place there where you're at?
Yeah. And like I said, I don't know where the Oliver one is that you guys are proposing, but the buildings are obnoxious enough. Now to throw in towers and whatever equipment's gonna be hanging up there and everything else. I mean, it just,
Well,
if
on
we ran
several
our,
miles, it's over on Goodman Point.
Yes, sir.
okay. But still, I mean, it's just another eyesore, it's another thing to contend with. The only good thing I can think about it is maybe the lightning will strike it instead of the poles around our house, because they'll be taller than our house now. Try to find something good and everything. But, it ruins our view, you know, and everybody else around there, which may not be important to some people, but we've lived our whole lives and worked our whole lives to have the peace and quiet and serenity and beauty that we have there. And it's gone. And it seems like it's going even more. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment.
Hello, Brett Baumgartner, 25204 Road 9. The 40 acres just west of the center pivot there is owned by myself, my brother Brian, and Katrina, my sister-in-law. We grew up there. I left 30 years ago, had a career out in California. My idea was always to come back because it's quiet, love the scenery. I came back recently and the whole area's changed. I won't go into a lot of great detail because Katrina already did. She voiced her opinions. I'm basically supporting what she has to say. I see no reason why there needs to be a radio tower. This all could have been done way before the fact. Everything's underground, going under our property. Gas, water, power, seems to me like they could have done something during that stage to go underground with it. It's going to be another eyesore for us, and it's very unfortunate. that's all I have.
Thank you.
I'm Janet Conway, and I live at 25455 Road 9, which is directly east of the cluster, next door to the Sylvan Cemetery.
The
My
old
husband,
Grange,
the
you
old
were
Grange
cleaning
church.
up the Grange, weren't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we broke ground 3 weeks ago. I'm not terribly thrilled to know that the windows that I had planned to take advantage of this beautiful pastoral scene will now look directly on a 70-foot tower. Right now, I cannot see the cluster from my home because of there's a hill that slopes, so it's a little bit lower. But I will see at least 50 feet of that tower from those windows, and I'm most disappointed. Again, we're personally very thrilled to find that farmers will be putting fiber optic cable on Road 9 this summer. We're all about communications. It's a safety issue. I do know, and I'm sure that Kinder Morgan will tell you, that cell phone service is fair, but not reliable out there. Farmers has been very reliable, and I would hope that Kinder Morgan can find some way to do something that's not quite as visually obstructive. There are 9 homes within a half-mile radius of that particular cluster that pretty much view right on that site. And some of them are, it's pretty sad looking, actually. And I feel very fortunate we can't see it, but I'd be very unhappy about it. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Sue Dusenberry, 9985 Road BB. I'm right there in the corner of BB and 10,
Oh,
right
okay.
there.
Okay.
No, the other corner,
Oh, yeah.
right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm a half a mile. I have a perfect view of the lovely new cluster facility. I know, I guess I kinda understand they need this tower. Katrina said that they could use the telephone company. I would think that they should try to use that. Right now, she talked about the buildings and everything else. When we got this winter when we were gone, I understood there to be one building. And when I came home, they were building it. I thought, okay, I can put up with it, it'll look like a barn. You know, somebody's barn's storage shed. Then now we have 2 storage tanks. They just put up 2 electric poles. And there's another building under construction. There's 2 buildings already built and another building under construction. And it can't pass as a barn anymore. Machinery is beeping all day long with construction and a lot of traffic. I know this is silly, but the deer in the area are no longer around. Their pathway was cut off across the gardener's land, going over to the Conrad land. And many slept in those valleys, right there in the, between the 2 pivots, and in my yard. I haven't seen deer since we've been home, except for a few young ones that have just passed through. According to the Cortez Journal, Kinder Morgan has increased their value and income in Montezuma County by almost $100 million in the last year. And it seems like if they changed the tower, did something else, it wouldn't affect their bottom line that much. They painted a building green on Road 8, I understand, for the Park Service. You know, they could do something for the 8 people that can see that. My idea, which was raised at the county meeting because I just wrote a letter, I didn't show up, was that they put in a camouflage pole. If this were a big city,
they put in a pine tree. You know, I contacted a tower company. You guys are Ecosphere? No? You are?
Yeah.
I don't know that you put in camouflage poles, but one in Tucson does, and they gave me a price, and they can put up a tower that looks like pine tree. And I asked for the least expensive. She gave me a price range, and I asked for the least expensive, and with like 2 pines, you know, a foot or something like that to come out. And they have to build it special because of the snow, but you know, it is possible to do. You know, make it look like a pine tree. Do something for the community besides have more poles. And one more little complaint, it has nothing to do with this, but they're tearing up Road BB. They're not supposed to be driving on it, but they are with their gravel trucks building that $1 million facility or whatever it is east of Road 12. And they're tearing up BB, something awful. So I don't know if you can have anything to do with that and get them to not use BB that much. I know their guys that work there don't. They go up 10 and then down CC, because I see them every night leave for work. So, I'm just concerned about all the industrialization of our community. I'm a half a mile. That thing is right in my view. You know, we fought the electric lines going across there, got that accomplished. Then over the winter, they decided to move this cluster facility. I have my house up for sale. I've had to lower it $30,000. No one's looked at it. So I'm very unhappy with what's going on in our neighborhood. Okay, any questions?
Well, I can add the gravel part. So there's a farmer, we've had this come up, there's a farmer hauling gravel, it's not under the same restrictions. So it owns land there, it's gravel trucks.
Okay, but he's not the one putting gravel up on, east of 12, where Kinder Morgan bought that electric facility, is he? That's not the
No,
farmer, that's
but
Kinder Morgan.
We have never had a truck caught, if there's one that's doing it illegal, going down BB. Anytime we've had a complaint, it's always been a farmer that is hauling out to his property, and it had nothing to do with Kinder Morgan.
No, these are, I've had them coming out
What's
the
the name,
driveway.
what was the name on the side of the truck?
That I can't tell you. But they're hauling gravel into there, and they're dragging their mud out on the road and tearing up the road, plus, you know, they make this wide turn to get into that area, and they've torn up the road there.
You said you just moved back, so do you live out there in the wintertime, or?
Yeah, no, I live south in the winter, and here in the summer. But, as I said, you know, I'm kinda unhappy with the whole situation, so I wanted to sell, but the value goes down and down and down. You know, Katrina said it was going down, but I definitely am seeing it. I'm way below assessed value. Nobody's even looking at it, so. It is destroying our neighborhood, so if they could think about doing some camouflage. I know it's expensive. It's $35,000 to $50,000, but, you know, it's a drop in the bucket for them.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else? Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak to this issue?
Is this the one in Pleasant View or the one in Goodman Point? Or?
This is this is the first one. This is out at Sylvan and Pleasant View. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll now close this portion of the public hearing. I had thought the very same thing, especially when Mrs. Baumgartner brought the issue up of the site of the view obstruction and what that's going to look like. Have you guys investigated making that look, camouflaging that tower of checked
No.
into that at all?
No, it's,
Because I've seen cell towers that they do that in metropolitan areas, exactly what she spoke about, and they make them, it's not a pine tree, but it gives the appearance of that, and it certainly looks much more eye appealing than just a steel metal tower sticking up there, so.
I think it would, it's gonna make it, what we're looking at here is you've got a tower, the tower dimensions are 1'6" on each side, it's an equilateral triangle.
So it's 18
Portion of it
inches.
is gonna be concealed behind the building, because we're installing these towers right up next to the cluster building. So a portion of it is gonna be concealed by the building itself.
How much are you gonna have up on the top? What's gonna be up high? Where's,
I'd have to get you a dimension, it may be 30 foot of the tower above the ridge line of the
yeah,
building.
but I mean,
so
what are you gonna be hanging on that, or how
It's,
big
it's
a-
just gonna be, the radio is maybe 2 foot by 2 foot, it's gonna be up 65 foot, just so that we can shoot a signal back to the compressor facility that we have on County Road BB and 8, and obtain the line of sight communication. I think if you went in and tried to make it look like a pine tree, that may be more visually unappealing.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm
We
just.
discussed that.
That
you're-
The
same,
planning commission discussed
yeah,
that.
that same idea came up in the planning and zoning, and that was the contention, was that it probably, it'd stick out more as opposed to just
So
having.
it's 1.6 inches,
So it's
is that, am I?
18 inches by 18 inches
18
equilateral
by
triangle.
18 by 18 in a triangle, and it's, so
It's not very big.
it's pretty tiny tower.
Did you guys discuss, it was mentioned that Farmer's Telephone, did you ever investigate whether you could hang your transmitters and stuff on a cell tower? Were there anything where cell towers could accommodate you rather than your own? Where you could
No.
mount your equipment on their towers?
No, you know, the communications within the McElmo Dome within Kinder Morgan use the same bandwidth, the same frequency, the same type radios. And I think there was an effort to try to keep things consistent across the field as far as how the data is transferred from our facilities back to our Cortez office.
Yeah. Well, you could do that with your own equipment on their towers though, could you not? I mean, if you put your own.
I don't know, that'd be something we'd have to look
There are no
into.
towers out.
It would still have to
We'd have to be at the
follow the
facility.
same line of sight guidelines that we have with the
Right.
70-foot tower. So there would have to be a tower at least 70 foot tall within, general proximity of this cluster station.
So-
This is the first, I'm just thinking out loud here, regarding the, converting this tower to look like a pine tree. It would be the only 70-foot pine tree in the area, and it would draw my attention. But haven't been involved in that.
Like I say, the direction that we got throughout this process was to maintain the same type of equipment that we're currently using in McElmo Dome. But I think, the CC cluster, I can understand looking at it from County Road 10 and BB, you can definitely see the cluster itself. The residents on County Road 9, the cluster kind of sits down in a hole on Mr. Lanier's property. I don't know for sure what the difference in grade is. The tower foundation is at the same level as the cluster, so the cluster sits down on Joe Lanier's property. So when we put the 70-foot tower up, if some of the residents on County Road 9 are not able to see the cluster, they may see, I'm speculating, a small portion of a 1'6" by 1'6" tower. They may or may not, I don't know. We'd have to see what the difference in grade is between the actual cluster site itself and the residents on County Road 9.
do. I'd like to see. Well, they even have palm trees.
But currently, we are not going to install any type of lights on the tower unless it was necessary, because I'm sure no one wants that. We don't need it.
What do you use these communications for? So are they more than, are they data?
What it does is, yes, so it's collecting pressure, temperature, those kind of things, and it's sending a signal back to our compressor facility. So the 3 clusters that remain in Cow Canyon, the CC cluster, the CB cluster, and the CD cluster, they shoot a signal to the Cow Canyon compressor facility. From there, that data is then transferred to our Cortez office and our SCADA group, so that if something goes wrong, there's an alarm, they need to get operators out there, they can make that happen immediately. So it's a safety as well as anything else, but it collects that information and sends it back to our SCADA system so that our SCADA operators or SCADA controllers can monitor what's going on out in the field, so that if there is an alarm condition, we get someone within Kinder Morgan out to that facility immediately to correct whatever that condition may be.
Yeah, SCADA, for those who are unfamiliar with the acronym, stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. So that's what this is for.
Do you have towers like this already on some of your other facilities, your older running facilities?
We do. These will be the first in Cal. Is there a tower at the CPF?
Yes, there is tower at Doe.
Mhm.
There's a tower at
What?
Goodman Point.
Yeah.
They're the same type of communication.
They're in all your other facilities.
Right.
Is the Goodman Point, I know this is a different public, but is the Goodman Point tower gonna be able to communicate with the one on CC?
No. So the Goodman Point tower would be on the east side of that cluster facility, and it would communicate back to Goodman Point, and then Goodman Point shoots a signal from that back to our Cortez office.
How near are you done with this facility, this particular,
This one here?
CCL?
We start commissioning June 29th.
So your construction activities are starting?
Construction activities are winding down. We have final grading that we have to complete, a couple weeks more construction, final grading, fencing, and reclamation of Mr. Lanier's property, and then that'll be it. And the flow line construction is complete and tied in. The majority, like I said, the majority of the construction is complete.
Yeah, were the issues that were brought up today, brought up the planning and zoning board, majority of them, any of them?
Yes, most of them actually were brought up. The tower with the tree, the planning commission basically thought that that would look ridiculous to have a tree that tall.
Well, you don't have a 70-foot ponderosa pine and a pinyon juniper forest.
Right.
It would stick out.
But there was talk of, coloring the tower the same color as basically what you do with the Forest Service or with the BLM, coloring the that material to be a non-reflective
Mhm.
blending in sort of color. But there was no final decision, there was no contingencies to anything that they decided to move forward with firmly.
What is it, galvanized steel or something, this tower?
I think it's aluminum.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Let's see if it says in there.
It's an engineered tower, but it's,
Do they offer different finishes on the metal? Do they offer you, or where you buy your tower, do they offer you a color
I don't
possibility?
think so.
I don't think so. And these are out kinda out in fields. I don't know how good of blending that would be.
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
Right? White in the winter.
Is there a reason why telephone communication wouldn't work as well?
I would have to check with our operations department and see.
For this particular application, it requires line of sight.
I know that.
Mhm.
When he was radio, somebody said use the telephone.
Fiber optic.
I'm not sure. I'd have to talk to our communications expert.
Hmm. That'd be different than what the rest of your system is.
If you're just dealing with that, those three clusters,
Mhm.
the compressor station.
Right, and the only one we need a tower on is CC. So we didn't need a tower at the other facilities.
Or you didn't need towers, though? You're high enough that.
Yes. Yeah. So this is just one tower at the CC cluster and one tower at the GA cluster.
So those other buildings have some kind of way they communicate with that tower then?
It's just, we've got an antenna pole that's on the front of the actual cluster building that's high enough to obtain a line of sight communication.
There was some discussion regarding, putting the line underground, but that turned into it being harder, for them to maintain and repair or find what was wrong if it was actually buried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you bury the antenna underground, is that what you?
The line.
Well,
The line.
the lines connecting them.
I don't know for sure, it's got fiber optics throughout most of that area. I'm not very sure.
I don't know.
Was Mr. Lemire the landowner, at planning and zoning meeting?
I believe so.
No,
Well,
it
he's
was
for, he'll be here.
And I've spoken to him, and he's aware, and he's fine with it.
There was one more comment. My name's Ellen Foster, 25314 Kenwood T, Dolores. There was one more comment made that hasn't been mentioned, and that was about property values. And I know because I made it. And that in the county land use code, it states a responsibility to protect the property values of landowners. And I don't hear any conversation about that here at all, except from Susan Berry. And I think the planning commission and the county commissioners have a responsibility to this community to protect the property values, not to
just throw up your hands and say, we can't do anything about this, they're here, we have to deal with them, which sounds like the tone of this meeting here. You know, maybe we can make it a different color, or, maybe we can make it look like a tree, but not a single comment about, let's not even do it. You know I don't like to speak unprepared, but, I just couldn't let that comment go. The county land use code also states that, you'll protect the rural character and the visual and aesthetic resources of the county, and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the people of the county. And, I just think that if Kinder Morgan would claim that they're not adversely affecting property values in the county, which has been demonstrated by Mrs. Dusenberry. She can't even sell her house, nobody's even come to look at it, she's reduced the price by $30,000. Well, make them prove it. That's all I have to say, thank you.
And Ellen, Katrina had brought up that issue as well. Mrs. Butler had said that too.
At the planning and zoning board.
No, just now. Just when she spoke earlier. It wasn't, I think no one had brought that.
I'm gonna talk about property values. Do you mind telling me how much you're asking for your house?
It's down to $199.
How much did you pay for your house?
It was valued at $190 when I bought it.
So you paid $190,000 for it?
No, I bought it at auction.
How much did you pay for your house?
$108.
$108.
But that was 12 years ago.
Oh, I wish I could have seen it.
You should have gotten it in your email.
Oh, really? Oh, but you started out at 229,000. Just.
May I say something again, please?
Sure.
It's not just the value of our land, it's our life, it's our quality of life. I don't plan on selling my land unless I can't stand living out there anymore. I plan on dying there. My father-in-law died in my home. We have roots there. That's, like I said, it's our home. I want my kids and my grandkids to be able to have and enjoy the quality of life that I have been blessed to have up until this point. Yes, value is huge. And I say that because it seems like dollars talk, but it's quality of life for me. I don't ever plan on selling, like I said, unless it becomes totally unbearable out there, which the way it's going, it could be. And I hope and pray it doesn't.
And I'm of the same value. I plan to die there. I love my house. It's a beautiful house.
I thought you just said that you was trying to sell.
Well, I am now, because of the industrialization of the area. But I plan to stay there the rest of my life. I have wonderful neighbors. And, it's just, Kinder Morgan has ruined it, ruined the area.
Pretty nervous. MB McAfee, 22277 County Road 20. You know, it's
interesting how vast the whole Kinder Morgan project has been, particularly this last Cow Canyon push. I mean, it's really been a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, what's very interesting is the thing that's sort of ending up being the tipping point. Sort of, I haven't watched the commissioners here be quite as studious about basically anything else that has come up recently until now towers. And now towers seems to be sort of the tipping point where you're really giving it some serious thought about quality of life out there. And I think what my perception about all of this is, somehow or another, the question, while it might have been asked, it was never pressed to be answered by Kinder Morgan. What is your big plan? 2 or 3 years ago, Kinder Morgan should have agreed that if they're a business, they would have a business plan. They should have been able to draw a landscape of buildings, of towers, of all the facilities that would be necessary to complete their Cow Canyon play or push. I don't know the quite language about that. While I think that question might have been asked, you sitting in power and the Planning and Zoning Commission did not try to hold them accountable to that answer. Had you done so, the public in general would have been far more allayed of concerns about what the industrialization is happening out around Pleasant View, instead of these little things, and they're not small, I don't mean to say they're small, these things popping up. I mean, a cluster facility that was going to be one building, and now it's 3, and it has tanks, and so forth. There was not a complete picture made. And I'm so sorry that that is the case, because had there been something comprehensive said or made, or at least like a projection, you could have said to Kinder Morgan, we're not going to hold you to 2 towers because we understand you might need 3, but we do understand you're going to need towers. So you didn't, somehow there's a disconnect of accountability here, and I think that's what's made people concerned, suspicious, angry, upset. So and it's funny that towers, which are little toothpicky things, I don't mean to minimize them, but they're not as big as the big facilities like the compressor station and the cluster facility. These little towers, suddenly you're sitting there with very thoughtful expressions on your face, so I'm assuming that means you're really trying to think about this. And it's just really so too bad the water's under the bridge, it's gone. You've not asked them, what are your really full plans? I have never heard that question asked or answered. So it would really, you could even start doing that now, even though they're about to close down construction. You don't know, because you haven't asked or held them accountable for, what is your next step? This is a good opportunity, so why don't you really think about this? Either okay or don't okay the towers, but please, in the future, ask them, what is the whole big next picture gonna do? Ask that. You have the power, and I know you feel it on account of you're sitting there thinking about it. All of you are. So think about it even deeper.
Can I ask just one more thing? Brett Baumgartner. We kind of mentioned underground, but then it's kind of washed over like it's going to be a maintenance issue or something. I'm just wondering if that's a viable option. I haven't heard any real conversation about that. If it is an option, can you please look at it? You know, we're already dealing with, we own property over right next to where the compressor station is. there was plans to build a house there, which that's not gonna happen anymore because of the view coming right out of our drive there. We're looking right at the compressor station now, where it used to be, you know, somewhat of a view. So we let that go, but this is gonna be visible from our house where we live right now, where now we're gonna build a house there instead. Could we please just look at it as an option to it underground?
Can I clarify one thing?
Sure.
The CB, the CC, and the CD clusters are exactly what was presented. We have not built any additional facilities, no more, no less. At Brad White's facility, we told you guys that we're gonna build cluster. You knew what it looked like, how many tanks were associated with it. We fenced in the 3 or so acres that was necessary for us to operate the facility, and have since reclaimed the CB cluster, the property around the CB cluster. We've done the same thing at the CD cluster, and we plan to do the exact same thing at CC. So we're not adding any facilities to these clusters. They're exactly what we came and presented and got approved. That's what we're building. And I think, you know, I think the wave of traffic is gonna go way down by the time we get to the end of July. Flow lines are gonna be complete, the clusters will be complete, the compressor station will have, still have some construction going on, but it'll be minimized. And then we'll have the booster facility off of, you know, County Road 12 and BB. So there'll still be some traffic out there, but I think at the end of the day, by the end of July, a good majority of the traffic will be gone. It should be somewhat back to, I guess, what you would consider normal, or, you know.
Ms. Baumgartner, you talked about trash being all over the place out there now that wasn't there before. Could you be more specific about the trash that you're having a problem with?
Everything from beer bottles, beer cans, water bottles, cigarette packs, to some of the industrial stuff. And I know the weather's been extreme lately, which has contributed to that, but there's some of the materials that they're using that got caught up in the water, and now they're in bar ditches and stuff. So it's, about the traffic, it's been very, very minimal. I mean, this is the first time we've seen any from the actual industrial site materials and stuff. Mostly it's the workers that are throwing their waste out rather than taking it out home. And it is on all of the roads now. And it seems to, when I was here last time, well, the time before last, when I came and spoke and mentioned it, there was people out there cleaning it up. And it was cleaned up, and here it is again.
I realize that you said that your direction was to go with the tower.
Let's try to maintain consistency with the same equipment throughout the field. Yes, sir.
But is there any reason that you know of why a phone line wouldn't do the same thing for you?
I would have to look and see. I would have to talk to the people who know about that. I mean, I don't know
I don't know
the
either,
most
because
about
that's-
our communications. I'd have to clarify with some of our operations team, you know, if that would work, where the farmers' lines are, and if that would work as far as communication.
Katrina,
Yes.
do you know, I don't know where all the fiber optic lines are that've gone in. Do you know whether it goes down to the compressor station or not?
Yes, fiber goes out there, Salisbury is using it right now. So there's fiber to the compressor station. There is fiber to my house.
Okay.
There will be fiber to the Condres. So they're, where they've got their road that goes to the well behind my house, then to the CC cluster. That is, the fiber is basically to that point. And it is to the compressor station.
I think I would have to know if that's an option
Sure.
before I leave it there. If it is, I think you'll have as good a service there as you will on the tower.
Funny that wasn't brought up in planning and zoning. It was brought up?
No, it's funny that it wasn't.
The lines, I mean, the lines going to and from were, but not fiber.
Not fiber optic, you mean just what, phone, what?
Just the lines that go between the towers themselves.
This tower isn't necessarily gonna connect with the other two towers, right?
Mhm.
Just with the compressor station itself.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Can I make one more comment? If the tower is 70 feet and we were sure that the building was no higher than 18 feet 2 inches, it's not real hard to do the math to know how much higher the tower's gonna be than the building. A little over 51 feet.
Well, isn't it in a draw, the cluster?
Yes, sir.
So land could actually affect where you're at and the height that you can see.
But the question was, how high was that above the building?
Can you see the buildings from your house?
Yes,
How much of them?
not much.
Not much.
I can see all of it from our property. The tower will be definitely be visible from my house.
Can I ask, is there gonna be a fence then put around this whole thing?
It's attached to the building that's already there.
There's a fence around it now, like a chain link fence?
No, there'll be, probably in the next 2 weeks, there'll be a permanent fence around our cluster facility. The outside of that will be reclaimed and the inside will be gravel and
Well, that'll really make it look good, then.
Well, I'm just gonna share one of my thoughts that I had here, and, you know, you're talking about, everything about this is aesthetics and views of nature and seeing the countryside and the scenery. I'm gonna have to say that I think center pivots are the most ungangly looking piece of equipment I've ever seen in my life. They serve a function and they're an essential part of our agriculture, but they're as unsightly as anything I've ever seen put on a field. And, so when we start contradicting people and saying you're disturbing my aesthetics and my views of nature and the countryside and all of that, I can't help but question what you think every time you wake up and look out your window and see that great big aluminum center pivot sprinkler going around that same view that you're so concerned about being obstructed by a skinny little 18-inch by 18-inch by 18-inch tower that from a half a mile, I'm gonna think that it's gonna take a pretty good set of eyes to see much of that. That is not a very big deal, and that's in my way of thinking. An 18-inch by 18-inch triangle is not that big. So I'm having a little bit of trouble making this add up where we're right out your, not 60 feet from your house, you have a gigantic aluminum center pivot sprinkler running around that field out there, and now you're saying that this 50-some foot of tower that's a half a mile away from your house is going to destroy your ability to enjoy your views and your property. I'm having a little disconnect there. I mean, it's
the building blocks. They have picked the place apart. They pick it here, then they add this, then they move that, then they add this. And it's just like with irrigation. It's just like with all the rest of it.
well,
Everybody picks it apart to where, yes, our,
Right.
what we have is gone.
I understand, and I understand that, Ms. Baumgartner, I understand that, but these people have a right, they've purchased, you know, I mean, they've bought the land, they've bought the rights to the mineral, they've done that. They've done that with willing sellers of land, of the people that are out there. Nobody's been forced to do or say yay or nay to any of this. I know indirectly it affects you when you more than some, especially with the traffic and the stuff that's going on with the construction, and hopefully that's gonna end soon. But as far as that tower being a gigantic eyesore to people out there, it's far enough away from a half a mile and a half a mile and a half a mile, and I'm just having a disconnect with how that's going to destroy your property, your views, your whatever that you feel like it's going to, that this one tower, now the whole cluster facility, yeah, that's a big deal out there, and it's there. I mean, it's there and it's been built and it's gonna do what it's supposed to do. But I'm having a difficult time in my own mind seeing how that little 18-inch tower is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back about this deal.
That's pretty much it. It's like the last straw. I wrote to Kinder Morgan, and that's what I put on my paper. It was the last straw. I mean, first they came around with their little booming and checking everything and hauling equipment over our houses and everything else. Then they did this. They moved that cluster facility. I do not know where it was gonna be in the first place, but they moved the position of that, and it wasn't gonna be there with one of the meetings I went to. So, and then we get wastewater lines through our front yards. It's just one thing after another. It's not the tower. I know what you're saying. A little tiny tower. It's the last straw. You know, what is next? And yes, I'm gonna be able to see that fence. That's just a little bit more. It's gonna make it a little bit ugly and not blend into the area. It was just the last straw. I understand what you're saying.
Do I have a motion from the commissioners?
I just would, but with MB, there, just a couple of things, you know, it said that the tower is, first of all, commissioners don't have power, they have a privilege. And that privilege is that we're supposed to be the voice of the majority of the people in the county. And so the word power, I hate that word. Anyway, but, you know, we from the beginning, we've been in a fight with Kinder Morgan on anything we think. We did it on a 10-mile electric line, on $1.5 million road. To say that all of a sudden we're coming to the table now, I just don't agree with that. But I grew up in Disappointment Valley, where my nearest neighbor was 30 miles away, and I've been out in that bean country, we called it, and I know what it's like to be out there without seeing anything. The problem that we have here is we have the largest CO2 field in the world right out there, and it has screwed everything up as far as the people that lived out there, the farmers and everything, but it's not going away. It is not going away. And so, I know what it feels like to be out there and see a building when it was a draw before, but I think we can mitigate a lot of things, but I don't think that something like this tower is something that I would vote against. There's three things that it doesn't do. It doesn't throw an odor over on the land. It doesn't make a noise. And I have yet to see that one tower would lower the property value. The value of land, I own an auction company, is whatever somebody's going to pay you for it. Not what you think it's worth, but what somebody is going to pay you for it. That's the true value of property. And so I'd make a motion to approve the tower.
Second, get it to the vote.
It's been moved and seconded to grant the amendment to the high impact permit for the communication tower. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Is there, James, did you vote no? I couldn't
Yes, he did.
understand. You did vote no.
James voted nay. He voted no against it, right?
Okay. We'll now close this public hearing. Okay. Montezuma County Board of Commissioners will now open a public hearing for proposed reviewing and determining a proposed amendment to a high-impact permit for Kinder Morgan, construction of a 70-foot communications tower. Did you call the roll, Kim?
Commissioner Till,
Present.
Commissioner Suplet,
Here.
Commissioner Lambert,
Here.
Administrator Brunner,
Here.
Attorney Baxter,
Here.
and Clerk and Recorder Kim Purcell. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of Commissioners will hold a public hearing for the purpose of reviewing and determining a proposed amendment to high impact permit number HIP 14-000024, submitted by Kinder Morgan CO2 Company, agents Phil Kennedy and Ecosphere Environmental Services, for the construction and operation of a 70-foot communications tower, which would be placed next to the existing building GA cluster on property owned by Troy and Shirley Oliver, 15757 Road N, Cortez, Colorado, west of Road 16, north of Road N, located in Section 6, Township 36, Range 17, NMPM. The hearing will be held Monday, June 15, 2015, beginning at 1:45 p.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County District Courthouse, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office, room 305, District Courthouse, Cortez, Colorado, or accessed online at http://montezumacounty.org, Web Departments Planning. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. This file can be inspected in the Planning Department during regular office hours. Dated this 29th day of May, 2015, Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Cortez Journal on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2015.
Thank you, Kim. We'll now open this public hearing. What are you looking at, Larry?
I'm just looking at where this is at.
Okay.
Sorry, Commissioner.
No problem. We've got the same situation, just in another location.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is on County Road N. What's the?
16.
16? Yeah, that's 16. Same size tower, 18-inch by 18-inch triangle. Same altitude. How did planning and zoning handle this?
There was the beacon comment, again, that was addressed.
There won't be lighting on this either, no.
Phil went over the way that they're going to use them to gather data to automate wells, and topography requirements for that. There was a There's a motion made by Commissioner Gaddy to approve the amendment of the permit of no contingencies, seconded by Clayton, carried 5-0.
Unanimous.
Where's row P from, from this? Right, oh, look in the schoolhouse, so that's curb.
That's,
That
Let me-
road goes on through.
I'm confused where this is exactly, so
Can I
where,
look at
where
that?
does Rick Oliver live next to,
About a half mile east.
oops, there we go.
Half mile east.
Yeah, right where that little snowflake or star is.
That blue dot, that blue dot.
The snowflake down in the corner. Right here.
Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
which way does Rick live? You said straight down?
Yeah, no, to the east.
Towards 16.75.
Is this behind their hay shed? Is that what
Yeah,
this
it's right
is?
behind their hay shed. Down in the draw. So the building itself isn't very intrusive, but I guess I'll just speak.
Okay,
I'm
Well,
Brian
well,
Black.
yeah, we'll now open this up to the public. I mean, we're, pretty much, you don't have anything fresh to tell. We'll open it up now to the public, okay?
I'm Brian Black, 25600 126th Street. I'm Black Land, which is to the west of it and to the south. A week ago, I just sold my grandmother's place, which is right on the corner, to my son and his wife, which is just to the east of that hay shed. So the buildings there were almost, I mean, pretty invisible from that house, but you throw a tower up and yeah, a half mile, 16 by 16 is not bad, but we're talking not very far. We're just talking across the hay shed from, and for them, I feel bad because I'm the bad guy. Just sold them a house now. They're gonna have a tower in their front window. It's very front.
So where's
front
the
of
house
window.
located? On the Dorinda property straight to the, yeah, show us where the house is.
Should be right there.
Okay, and there's a hay shed in between
The
them.
hay
and-
shed's right there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, our land is there, and then it's over here too. But, and I have no real huge objections to towers or the industry that's going on out there. I profit from it. I have friends that work for them, but the towers, they just, they're tall, and they just, there's so much land out there. For me, a tower that's half mile, a mile or two away from everything is just serving its purpose. But when you start throwing them into people's houses and their living room windows, that's where you get people saying stuff, and that's, I think, where we're at right now. Just right there, does it have to be right there? There's 4 towers that are about right here, Goodman Point Towers, you see them
Yeah,
all the
but
time.
they'd be-
They've been there since I was a kid. I wish they would just consider, I know that's probably not their land, it's not their building, it's distance for them to run wires and stuff, but they have to tuck it up against the houses. I just don't understand that. I mean, if they were out in the field far away, no issue really, but that's what I've got. I mean, we're talking maybe 100 yards, 200 yards right there. That's the problem I've got.
Are there other houses around there? Is there another home?
Troy's house is right here.
Right there?
Yeah, and that was my grandmother's house right there. And then Dorinda's is, where is Dorinda's? It's right here. It's right there in that, I mean, there's no houses forever, and then you get three
And you got
or 4
three.
houses, and then you have a tower. That's an issue. It's like there was no thought to this. It's like, come on, guys. You have the big building, you have the big, out here somewhere, you have the big pumping plant. I mean, I know, sometimes the brains are probably where that cluster is or whatever, but you'd think that there would be a little bit of planning and not doing that to people, or you're gonna have people in here talking about them. That's the issue of that. I mean, just get it out in the field away from people. 18-inch towers, not a big deal, but tucked in like that, just seems like silliness to me.
So, where there used to be a hay shed on is it your grandmother's?
Yeah,
you said?
right, and there used to be a hay shed right there.
And so
It's tore down now.
this is up past the Oliver Hay Shed, is that right, where this cluster is?
Yeah, well, yeah, this road actually, unless I'm seeing it wrong, this road goes on through. And Rick lives over here, and that's the shed that they put silage in last year. I'm sure you know where it is, and it's across just down in the draw. The buildings from that, you can't even hardly see them, no issue.
Where is their house gonna be then?
It's grandmother's old house, it's right there, and it's pretty close to the road, it's
So
not
that
far
hay
from
shed is directly across from it.
Mhm.
Is the hay shed between it and
Mhm. It
the
is.
cluster?
Yeah,
How tall do you think that hay shed is?
it's probably 25, 30 foot tall. And then this is down in the draw too, so, you know, without seeing it, you don't know. Maybe that's not gonna be that big of an obstruction, it's just right there, that's the thing. But there is a draw, I mean, that is fairly deep in there, isn't it? I mean, where the
Yeah.
buildings are, it's down in there.
Yeah, we had to fill quite a bit to get, so.
You know, for $100,000, you could put that tower on my land right over there.
Let's make a
See,
deal, huh?
industry's good. Just where you put stuff.
I'll bet that's not gonna be much of a deal for you, that hay shed and them down below and maybe
I'll let you talk to
15.
Mrs. Black about that.
I don't know what to say that he didn't say. I wasn't really prepared for this, but my name's Kelsey Black. We did just purchase the property across the road. As long as I don't think it's that big of a deal, but just like everybody else talked in the meetings prior, if they could use those other communication towers or those other beacon towers or whatever they are, if they could use those, is that a possibility? Is that
Can you see those from your house? Can you see the
Oh,
other,
yeah.
the other towers from your
You
house?
can see those from any house.
Can you see them from your?
I feel like they're tall enough that they could use those. I guess that's my only issue. If I can't see them, it's not that big of a deal to me.
This is their first house, they just bought it a week ago, and in the mail was, after all this was all said and done, then we get an announcement of a tower right in their front window. It just doesn't seem fair, but. I understand that.
Is there anybody else here in the public that wishes to speak to this? We'll now close this portion of the public hearing.
How come you keep putting these clusters in draws, so you gotta?
We'll probably get them out of the road.
What about those other towers? I don't know if they're radio or what, they're gigantic, whatever they are.
They're lighted,
Over 100 feet.
so I know the way up in the air.
So they have lights on them?
I have nothing against towers, really, other than just, right next to somebody's house. It's just, it's just unneighborly. That's what it is. Not that I have a problem with it. I think they do a good job.
There was a lot of discussion at the planning commission meetings about, just in general, like, a lack of forethought. Why this why it wasn't included in the original plans.
Did you guys not know you were gonna need communications when you did the original design of these clusters and stuff?
No, we did.
You did?
It's taken a long time to get to the point where we are
It's time
tonight.
to build them. Were these proposed in your plans in your original construction plans?
No, there were, we started communications discussions within Kinder Morgan last summer. And we are just now to the point where we almost have communications, so it's a.
Can you, cause I know that straight to the west of that is the Kinder Morgan, pump station, compressor station.
Yes.
Does it have a tower?
Yeah, I think there is a large tower down there.
Isn't there a way we can have a smaller tower that's shorter than
We could
the
shoot a
hay
signal
shed,
to
shoot
it.
it to that station and then bounce it to communicate to your,
Yes, I think there are some different options at this location that we wouldn't have at the other. So,
Let's take a look at those.
yeah.
Yeah, if there's some way you can mitigate this one and, like Commissioner Supa said, and send it back to your compressing station, then you can relay off of that instead of having to go 70 foot up here maybe.
Right.
That'll work, that sounds like a good compromise.
How much time do you think you might need to look into that?
I don't think it would, I mean, I'm gonna have to go back and sit down with a couple folks in our operations team and just figure out how to make another option work.
Mhm.
So,
Well, without doing it, without resetting it to a time certain, we'll have to go through certified mailings. Instead of continuing the hearing to a time certain, we'll have to do public notice and that all over again.
We
So
can't
whatever.
continue it, we can't continue this.
We can.
You can,
That
it
would
just
probably
has to be a
the
date certain.
preferable thing to do. That's why I was curious, but, you know.
But if you
either
don't
way.
know,
Right.
then we can't. So, yeah.
I would say there are other options rather than putting a 70-foot tower.
Okay.
But do you think that,
Like a
it would be
month?
feasible for us to say, let's set this thing 2 weeks from today and come back and reprove it?
Oh,
or-
yeah,
or will
absolutely.
you not? Is that not enough time?
No,
That's not
I think we could set it
1 week.
1 week.
Okay.
Let's do two, just in case.
Okay.
I just didn't want you to come back and be
Yeah,
like,
no.
give me another week.
No, I think we could,
We haven't had
2
good
weeks will
luck
give
with
you ample time to
2
get
weeks,
your answer
2
and
weeks
then
is
offer
Resetting.
some options
ample
to us.
to,
Mhm.
yeah.
So,
that's where
On the 29th.
yeah.
sounds good to me.
Yeah.
On the 29th?
I'll go grab my book.
Make a motion.
Just
No.
a second, she's checking to
She's
make
checking
it
her
a
calendar.
time. So we'll have it specific.
Okay.
Do you need the 2 weeks or?
I don't think so. I just need to speak to the right people within our organization. I would say we could do it again in another week.
1:30? Can you do in?
He said he can do it in a week.
Week?
You need more time, you think you need more time?
Well, we're pretty full on the 22nd. We got
Are
the
we?
audit,
Okay.
the last part of the day. So, 2 weeks.
would be better.
2 weeks?
That's fine.
Okay.
June 29th at 1:30?
Okay. Somebody wanna make
Could you clarify what you're doing?
We're continuing this hearing for 2 weeks till the 29th of June.
Okay, and one thought is to put it on existing tower at the
No,
Goodman
I-
Point Station?
They're looking, he says that they have options that they can look at with the compressor station right
At
to the
Goodman
west of
Point.
that.
Yes.
And there may be some options that they can look that don't involve a 70-foot tower.
Is there a tower at the CC compressor station that you could use instead of the 70-foot tower that was previous to this? I mean, would that be another option, just for instance?
Them are all a long ways away.
It's, well, in the topography
I-
between the compressor
Yeah.
station and CC being down in that draw
Okay,
is the reason for the height of the tower. Again, we had an engineering firm look at the topography between locations for both Goodman Point and for the CC cluster. And so they have a program that takes a look at that, looks at everything in between and gives you a tower height based
Right.
on what's in between one point to the other.
I just wondered if there was another option out there at Pleasant View, like there seems to be at Goodman Point. That's all I was asking.
We don't have any other facilities out there.
I'll move, we continue this hearing till the 29th.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to continue this hearing until June 29th at 1:30. Come back and see what you can locate.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.